My name is Damilola Apotieri Abdullahi. I'm the CEO and the founder of the Playback Nigeria. It's the official Playback Theatre Company in Nigeria. I have a degree in theatre arts and a postgraduate honors in applied drama and a master's degree also in applied drama, theatre in education, community and society context from the University of the Witwatersrand in South Africa. As a child, I wanted to do art. I had a passion for art. And then I don't know where the inborn passion came from, but I saw art as an instrument for national development. I saw art as an instrument of personal development. I loved entertainment, but I also discovered that art could be used for several purposes apart from entertainment. I didn't want to get involved in art for art's sake. So I started writing plays that addresses children's rights. I started writing plays, stage plays that addresses issues about the society I grew up in. Fortunately for me, after my undergraduate degree, I got an information about a postgraduate degree honors in applied drama, which was what I do. I never knew there was a course that actually uses art for social context. So I went to study applied drama, another honors in applied drama, and a master's in applied drama. And I use my art for specific purposes. One of the major things I use my art for is psychosocial intervention. So I run performances, I run theatre performances in an unusual way. My first play is titled The Invisible, and it focuses on the plight of children, street children. I did a research about what led to children living on the street, and I did a play which was staged in about 5 states in Nigeria for my NYSC years. I staged it in Abuja, in Lagos, in Ogun State, in Oyo State, and one other state. And my second play also addresses the plight of children affected and infected with HIV/AIDS. The play is called Accost. While doing my postgraduate degree, I got involved in playback theatre. I was exposed as an audience member to playback theatre, and instantly, from the first day I got involved in playback theatre as an audience member, I saw something new. I saw a new dimension that is different from what I am open to and what is being practiced back home in Nigeria, because I did my postgraduate abroad. For playback theatre to me, is a therapeutic form of theatre. There's a saying that healing comes through storytelling, and there's the healing art of storytelling. Storytelling is not just for entertainment purposes, but it can be used for psychosocial support. Playback theatre is an ensemble that is based on storytelling and enactment. It was founded about 40 years ago by an American called Jonathan Fox and his wife, Jo Salas. They both started playback group, the original playback group in the US, in New York, with the Center for Playback Theatre. 40 years after today, there are over 100 playback theatre companies in about 55 nations of the world. People have been using playback in different countries, in different contexts. People use playback theatre for healing. People use playback theatre for cultural integration. People use playback theatre for social intervention. And for me, I saw the need to also involve myself and my community in the use of playback theatre. This was a period where the issue around terrorism was increasing. I got involved in playback theatre in 2013. And then playback theatre was used after the 9/11 terrorist attack in New York to work with people who are going through distress, people who actually experience, not necessarily as direct victims, but people who experience the the plane crash in New York, they had the opportunity to share the experience, to talk to themselves out. Playback theatre is also being used at the moment in Nepal for the survivors of the earthquake, because they are going through distress. Whenever a natural or any disaster happens, the survivors of that disaster go through distress. I don't want to use the word trauma because trauma is a very strong word, and so that for the sake of not misinterpreting trauma, but people actually go through distress, and then for them to go through healing, the best way or the best approach, according to some psychologists, is to use art therapy, and playback theatre is an art therapy. Storytelling is an healing art in which expressive art therapists use to help their clients to go through distress. Storytelling helps us to change our lives and to redirect our journey, to reflect about ourselves. In the whole of Africa, we only have playback theatre in 2 countries, and the countries are South Africa with the Playback Theatre South Africa, and then the Playback Nigeria, which we founded in June 2015. The essence of Playback Nigeria is to help people in distress. Nigeria is known for a country that helps people with relief material, but never with mental relief. We care more about people in distress by giving them goods, by giving them relief materials like food, like bedspread, but we don't care about the mental health of people. So Playback Nigeria was founded by myself and a couple of others to help people, especially our brothers in the Northeast who are in IDP camps, who are living as internally displaced persons in their country. We understand that they are living in distress. We've been to them, we've spoken to a few of them, and we came up with an idea of looking at how to help them go through therapy or to go through trauma using expressive art therapy. To help them rediscover their lives, reconnect to their community, reconnect to their families. A lot of these people have lost family members, they've lost their shelter, they've worked their house on, they've worked their life on. Some of them are children who have lost parents who are now orphans and vulnerable. Some of them are living in IDP camps and are rape victims. Some women cannot really negotiate free sex with their husband and they are living with the agony. Some of them are being molested daily in IDP camps, and all we care about as a nation is to send them a bag of rice or whatever material we feel deemed fit for them. For Playback Nigeria, we decided to start a company registered under the International Playback Theatre Network, because playback theatre, like I said, is being practiced in over 55 nations of the world. And we had to use playback as an art therapy to help people express themselves, to tell their stories, to go through the state of being at the moment, to go back and reintegrate into the society. Everyone has a story to tell. People ordinarily have stories to tell about their life, and people who are going through traumatic situations would need a safe space to share their experience about their lives. That's why we founded the Playback Nigeria Company. And we're using the playback theatre forms, which would help people share the personal narratives. People would go through a process of healing in the space of playback. And it's a space that actually honors and cherishes people's personal narrative. It's a theatre that creates a safe space for people to actually share their stories and to go through a process of healing. The insurgency is still going on in some parts of Nigeria, but a lot of people are in the space camp now, and while the military and the government is doing everything it can to secure back the lost territory in Nigeria, there's a need to still care about the mental well-being, mental wellness, and mental relief of those who are living in this place camp. So we felt that what would we use better to help people. And we also understand that one of the only tool, or one of the few tools that is available for people to go through therapy in Nigeria is counseling. We thought of using what has worked in other countries, what has worked in the US, what has worked in the UK, what has worked in South Africa, what has worked in Italy, in Canada, in you name it, in Germany. Even as of today, people are using Playback in Nepal to help victims or the survivors of the Nepal earthquake to go through healing process. So we felt we could introduce Playback to Nigeria. Nigerians love storytelling. Nigeria loves the art. Playback would then help people not to rehabilitate, will help us to rehabilitate people who are displaced at the moment, people who are going through distress. With Playback Theatre, people can share their experience, can share the personal narrative, can express themselves, can play and look at recreational activities for themselves. One of the two things we hope to do in Nigeria, from Playback Nigeria, is to first and foremost work with the internally displaced people. Work with them, work with international organizations and governments providing mental relief or psychosocial support in northeast Nigeria. We have various international and national organizations and companies who are looking forward to rendering psychosocial support for victims or survivors of the Boko Haram insurgency who are living in IDP camps and those who are returning to their community to go through their relief stage. So we hope to use Playback Theatre with those people, train some of them in the community in the art of Playback Theatre, and also create a playback performance space for people to actually go through their healing. Apart from the IDP camps, we also want to look at different issues. Like I said, Playback can be used in different fields, not just for therapeutic purposes. Playback Theatre can be used for cultural integration, can be used to create dialogue among people, can be used to reflect about a particular set of community, either during conferences, during workshops in the corporate world, or even within classrooms, in hospitals, and hospices. So we hope to use Playback Theatre to help people and to engage people in different settings in Nigeria and also in West Africa. We hope to take Playback Theatre to prisons, to hospices, to the government offices, to corporate organizations. Wherever we can get stories where people want to share their stories, we hope to take Playback Theatre there for people. And we're just starting Playback in Nigeria. We're just in the beginning stage. There's an ethics we need to follow as a professional organization registered under the International Playback Theatre Network. One of the requirements is that we get an accreditation from the international body before we can operate. And the process of getting an accreditation is to get a formal training for members of Playback in Nigeria. Playback Theatre has its own school, so it's not something you just go to any university. In the whole world, there are only 9 Playback Theatre schools in the world, and it includes the Center for Playback Theatre in New York, the London School of Playback, the South African School of Playback, which is relatively new. We are in the stage of recruiting members. We're looking at people who might have interest in art therapy, people might have interest in using art for psychosocial support or social intervention. We're inviting Nigerian young people in Nigeria who might have spare time to join Playback Nigeria as members of the Playback Theatre Company to provide psychosocial support for people in different spaces. We're going to be providing trainings for them free of charge. The training will be conducted by the members, facilitators from the International Playback Theatre Network from some of the schools. And the core training hopes to take place before the end of this year. After the core training, we'll do an active conducting training for our members, and the training would progress. It's not a one-off training for our members. We're going to be doing a lot of workshops for members of the Playback Nigeria free. So we're in the stage of recruiting members. We're having people come in who want to show interest to come in and be part of Playback Nigeria as members. Also, apart from using Playback, we also want to use other forms of theater for social intervention. We have a couple of plays which we hope to produce from once we have our accreditation sorted out. One of the plays is called The Voices. The Voices is a play that looks at the hearing voices, the play that addresses mental health and mental well-being of people. Because a lot of times we do not really talk about mental health in our communities. We think people who have mental health issues are being demonized, and we really don't talk about a lot of things that would help us promote our mental wellness. And some of the things that causes harm for our mental well-being is because we don't go through therapy. We're not a nation that feels we should go through therapy. We believe therapy is for the whites, or therapy is for the Western world, is a Western problem, and it should be something the mental. We're all psychosocial beings, and we must go through psychoanalysis. We must go through therapy. We must, at different stages of our life, we go through distress. And distress is not something you just overlook and just move on. It's not something you just drink a bottle of alcohol and you just move on. You times need to express yourself. Some people do that through writing. Some people do that through storytelling, like we do in Playback Theatre. Some people do that through counseling. We want to create a community, a nation that is conscious about the mental health and the mental state of every individual, both young and old, male or female, child or adult. So part of our plays, like The Voices, like The Voices talks about people hearing voices. We all hear voices, but we never talk about it. It's a mental health play. We also have a play called True Positive Eyes that talk about the positive stories of people who have survived HIV, people who have survived some of these deadly diseases. Our first episode of True Positive Eyes will talk about the experience of people who have lived with HIV and who have survived the deadly virus. Also, a lot of our plays will be talking about some social, mental, and health issues. We hope to work with international organizations, international bodies who are providing psychosocial support in Nigeria to help us, because we're an NGO. We are a non-governmental organization, and we rest mostly on grants we're able to get from our partners. So we're working towards getting partners, international and national partners, who are interested in using art. In Nigeria, we have a few organizations who are into using art for psychosocial support. People do promote literature, people promote music, people promote sports, but a few organizations are in to promote art therapy or art for psychosocial purposes or art for social intervention. So we hope to work with organizations who are providing psychosocial support or who are focused on having the CSR in arts purposes or art-focused areas to fund some of our projects, to work with us in executing their projects using art. My word is that Nigeria is growing as a nation in age. We have since 1960, this is 2015, as a nation, we need to start moving and we need to start adapting to the global change which the world is going through. We need to avoid thinking that the mental health or the mental well-being of our country, of our fellow citizens, doesn't matter to us. We need to start, because if we don't address people's mental well-being, at the end of the day, it comes back to us, because it's like a gunpowder waiting to explode. And people, like for example, the people in the Northeast have seen a lot of violence. They've seen a lot of violence. And if we do not help them to heal mentally, some of them would end up coming back to attack us as a nation. We might be producing another set of insurgency, another set of young people who are going through trauma or who are going through distress at the moment. might feel that the only way is violence, the only way is insurgency. And we need to start addressing that issue now as a nation. We need to start helping people. We need to start focusing on how we are going to, not just about the material relief, for people, but also the mental relief. What are we doing as a state, as a nation? What are we doing as an individual to help people go through trauma, to help people heal? In the next couple of years, we hope that playback theatre would be something that will be used in the whole of Africa, not just in Nigeria. One of our dreams at Playback Nigeria is to make sure that before the next 4 years, which is the next conference, the World Conference of the International Playback Theatre Network, the whole of West Africa would know about playback theatre and also know about true Playback Nigeria. We're also going to be talking a lot about our mental wellness, our mental well-being, and also providing psychosocial support using arts-based tools.